Welcome back to the Canna Connect show. I'm your host, Stephen Eigenman. Today I'm here with Munir Haque, president of Cure8 USA. We're going to get into something that you and I have been spending a lot of time on, which is the Minnesota cannabis industry, why it's a great time to be a part of the Minnesota cannabis industry, how to get into the Minnesota cannabis industry, but also like from top to bottom, really just like where we're at as we curate these events. What do folks need to know about you and more importantly, Cure8?
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. So I'm Munir Haque, president of Cure8. We're the component that takes your floor plan, your vision, your dream, and adds all the tech, the security, the compliance. So I'm talking if you're a dispensary, what does that flow look like? Okay, you're gonna come in, you're gonna have some kiosks, some menu boards, how many POS stations, your security cameras, your access control doors, most important, a secured internet that comes in, and then we control all of that, manage it, make sure you're compliant, and we secure you. So in a nutshell, that's what Cure8 does. We've been doing this in the traditional side for about 18 years. We took that and we brought it to cannabis in 2017, and here we are sitting here at the next state that's gonna crush it.
Thank you so much. Like, one of the biggest questions I had is, how did you break into the cannabis industry?
I have a really, really long, extensive, when I say long, very extensive retail background. And customer service from both sides. Customer service and helping the business support customers is a big part of what I helped with, and also making sure that customers had a great experience and that there was a good flow. But on top of that, there's a lot that goes into that. A good flow, a floor plan, a good flow, visuals, marketing, every component. I had in my long retail kind of lineage, I was able to touch almost all of that. So we wanted to go into cannabis and offer our parent company security and data security and safe, HIPAA compliance and just be protected, right? But we were talking to legacy markets, and that wasn't the right market to talk to.
Because you're in California.
Yeah. Telling a market that's still dabbling in the gray market that we need to make you compliant was not really the right pitch.
Let me introduce you to Don Raleigh.
Right? But out of nowhere, we get a call from Canada saying like, hey, we hear you. We're about to go federally legal. You're American.
Oh.
You can figure it all out. We would like to pick your brain and you can start. And we built the first 5 dispensaries to the 180th and then cultivation facilities and whatnot. And that education is something that like you cannot pay for. Being the first to work in a federally legal market and then bringing that to the States. And
how many times have you been to Canada?
I don't even know. I lived there at one point just because it was just going.
Wow.
And I've never felt cold like that before. Like,
yeah. What province did you live in?
I was in Manitoba, and then I was in Vancouver, and then I was in Ontario, and it was going with the build outs, and we were building the Cure8 team.
They're an entire country.
Yeah. Federally legal. I take my credit card and be like, yes, I want to buy weed.
You can use a credit card in Canada.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So we're not there yet, here, but
right.
Which
we covered yesterday.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So that's how I got involved in it. I really wanted to help the vision of the operator.
As you had a tremendous opportunity, and what wasn't working in California all of a sudden was
relevant everywhere else.
Did you see this coming by any means? Like now where you sit today at 2025?
No. I saw some growth, but this was fast growth, and then we got hit with this world shutdown thing, right?
Yeah.
Cannabis didn't slow down. We had to get creative because we couldn't travel. In some states and in Canada, our team members needed written documents that they're essential. So if they got pulled over on the highway,
right,
they were going to a site to build.
Canada was clamped down. Cannabis was not clamped down.
No.
Wow.
And certain builds were still happening, but then there were things where you can't have more than 2 trades in a building at the same time. So we're trying to figure out scheduling, like, okay, you're coming in 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Okay, we're gonna take 2:30 to
the tradesmen.
Yeah, and still
build outs,
pushing these build outs
wow.
forward. So wild times.
No kidding. Yeah, wild, wild north.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're back in the north.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on today's show, we're going to cover a lot on the Minnesota cannabis industry, everything that you and I have experienced and where we think it's going.
Yeah.
How would you compare Canna Connect events to other similar style events in other states?
Canna Connect has the very unique ability to really get to the people and get the people's attention. And I think every Canna Connect event I've been to, there's folks that really need information or are a little lost or don't know where to shoot, and come there and feel it's a safe space, and just come with notebooks and open ears. And that's how it differs from a lot of other events. You know, there's intention. I go to a lot of events and people walk in and it's like, cool, there's all the bells and whistles and great music and stuff, but everyone's kind of walking around aimlessly.
Sure.
That's not a Canna Connect event.
Right. It's almost like we've been more dressed down lately. So it's like less frills, less gift bags, and things like that you don't necessarily need. But what I took away from our most recent event was I think everybody there talked to each other. And I know that's something that in the further past events, you've always encouraged the audience to talk to people. And I hear it more and more that eventually you're going to need somebody in this industry. I heard it just recently where it's like talking to Christy and her husband, Preston, about, she comes from Missouri's market, but she's worked in many states, and she's like, eventually everybody's going to need each other.
Yeah.
I mentioned, well, we have already seen that with the hemp and CBD industry, where ultimately, whether they had a cultivation license or a manufacturing license or transportation, like ultimately the supply chain defines itself in ways where not everybody's going to be vertically integrated. Some people are going to get their products white labeled, for example, and so you may not get along with a guy, but he may end up white labeling your product at some point. And what I like about Minnesota, and we'll kind of stay on that topic and juxtapose it because you've seen multiple other markets as well. It's like we did sort of get our training wheels. We learned to ride the bike with training wheels. We learned to ride the bike in a less regulated market with CBD, hemp. But then all of a sudden, like in the last couple of years, it becomes big business. And which is also reminiscent of essentially where adult use and recreational dispensaries get to, or when markets mature, and like there are some really big companies that end up taking up space in the industry. But not nowadays it's more common, but like Total Wine launched first in Minnesota with THC beverages. And I remember when the hemp shops were fighting with the liquor stores, to think like how premature of an argument that was. It's like, I don't see any like hemp operators shaking their fist at Target this week. You have to learn, it's a game. I always say life is like Tetris, right? Like you're a certain shape, it's hard to shape shift, but like you may have to rotate your business a little bit. And I think it's harder when you're locked into a license type, but what we've had is 5 years, call it 18 at the earliest. A couple of brands got started in 18. So 5 years before day one of before August 1st, 2023, the plant gets legalized, home grow comes online, and then Red Lake opens same day, White Earth opens months later, Prairie Island opens almost a year later, Rise and Vireo just turn on AU summer of 2025. I like the experience that we've generated, that I've been able to be a part of inside Minnesota's cannabis industry, starting with Canna MN and evolving into Canna Connect, and now we have the Cannaverse and the Canna Connect show, and we want to continue to be the platform, the stage, where we bring the likes of yourself and many others. It's not just you that we work with, but you've been a great help and assist towards getting Canna Connect onto the national platform. Or Matt Cox, Dutchie. I mean, those were early conversations, probably some of the earliest conversations we had with national folks, and we appreciate what Matt did and has done for the cannabis industry as a whole. But where do you see Minnesota cannabis going next? Where are we at right now? You've had a lot of conversations.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly just getting started. And I was talking about this last night with one of the clients of ours, is there's so much road ahead. And there are forks and, turnpikes and stuff, and it can go array or it can go straight, but there's so much opportunity. Minnesota is very unique. There's a big hemp culture, right? There's a past and current and history of working in this type of capacity already. Yes, this is the first time this is happening, but there's also things that have already been written per se, and way to do business and way to keep your mind open to succeed. So Minnesota, there's just nothing but opportunity right now.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting. It's also, I mean, this, and I think we've talked about this. We're working in this space. We're also working in Minnesota together. We also are witnessing history being written. This is the first time, right? That's where it's cool. Yeah. Really cool, because a couple of years from now will be the second time or the third time or whatnot, right? But This is the first time. And we're here.
And the first time of like infrastructure being built. I remember talking to Laylee 2 years ago. Yeah. Like, what do I want to do? What am I actually trying to do? And I think it's build infrastructure. It's not the store off the highway, it's the highway. Yeah. Now, it's not policy, right? Though there's real work being done at the Capitol. I can't take credit for any of that. But it's how do we build the exit ramps? Yeah. Okay, you're getting on this highway, you've never been on it before. You're gonna have to stop for gas. Yeah. You're gonna have to stop to get your windshield wipers fixed or your fluid, updated. So it's like, maybe that's an analogy that I can work off of. But it's like, you can't do this alone. You can't just drive your car without stopping. You're gonna have to work with people. You're gonna have to connect. Yeah. And like, I would love to see a craft supply chain, a local business serving a local market. And I think that's what I'm excited to see, is like, what's the minimum viable production level that you need to power your 1,500 square foot storefront that Brittany Melville recommends. Yeah. Right. Not starting too big. Yeah. And like, I think it's possible. It is. And to go on to the not starting too big, it's something that, like, in the Canna Connect events, that's what Cure8 preaches. I preach it because it is awesome to dream big, and you should dream big. You should never not, right? But when you start creating, you have to also think about, I need to start generating revenue. This is going to be a business. I want this to last, right? How do I build up to my dream? And I think that's a very important message for any market, especially this market. And I'm on the tech side, right? So, when someone says my vision is on a dispensary for someone to walk in, and I want the guests to be greeted, I want screens, I want kiosks, I want like 12 POS stations, because during the holidays we're going to be slammed. That's great. But I would much rather sell you a quarter of all that and build it, but future-proof you. So I get that call that says, Munir, Cure8, we're slammed. These 4 POS is not going to cut it. We need 10. We need more kiosks. I would love to take that call. Let's go. Yeah. Because you've learned your neighborhood, you've learned how to keep the business coming and grow it. Right. And that's the type of mindset I encourage. We're in Minnesota, right? We want Minnesota to succeed. But when you look outside of Minnesota and you look at all the states that are already on board, everybody needs Minnesota to succeed. Minnesota needs to kill this. That's right. I was consulting 3 years ago, 2022 into 23, for the St. Paul Farmers Market, longest running farmers market in Minnesota. It's been around longer than the state of Minnesota, actually. And oftentimes when I worked with the executive director and his assistant, and then inevitably the board, we had to take a good, better, best approach to find success, because there was a limited amount of time, a limited amount of content production ability. The market spread out. There's like 13 markets across the whole Twin Cities, so it's like it runs 6 days a week, so it's always moving. So we took a good, better, best approach, and I really like that. The way I look at it is, I wish there was a stairs emoji, a three set
Yeah.
Shout out to Henry at Open Window. He runs a board shop, and he's familiar with a 3-stair set. And if you can do a kickflip off a 3-stair set, like, you're pretty good at skateboarding. Like, you know what you're doing, and like, but you don't start with a 3-stair set. You start with a curb, and then you like work up to a 1-step, and then like, that's how you should build businesses in the cannabis industry. Look at all the failures of 9-figure businesses that aren't in business anymore. Fuck, like, you don't have 9 figures to blow. Doesn't exist in 2025.
No.
VC money is not what it was at its peak with cannabis. So Minnesota is creating a lot of space for different ways to get into the cannabis industry. And the more velocity and the more volume, that bodes well for a lot of different people. Like, there's hemp beverage brands in Minnesota that aren't Minnesota based that are crushing it. Yeah. And if it wasn't for Minnesota, they wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
The market would not have taken off had the Republicans not cleared the lane. Common sense policy allows small businesses in Minnesota to do what they can do, and don't favor Wisconsin businesses and not be able to send cease and desist letters to Wisconsin business. Like, don't hurt your own small businesses. And they've done that, don't get me wrong. But I like what you're saying, and it's powerful because, you know, we've done Canna Con, we've done Lucky Leaf, we've been in talks with Nican. They're not crushing it.
No.
When they come to Minnesota, they crush. We try to provide a good time.
Yeah.
And we're continuing to get better. But like, I hear you, because like, as the 23rd state, like, there wasn't a wave of national momentum happening, right?
Yeah.
You know, New York came before us and was filled with delays.
Yeah.
And so like, a large part of how OCM was moving was to avoid the slowdowns of New York. Who knows? It's hyperbole to some degree, but the industry couldn't afford another mass slowdown, a 2-year rollout.
No, you know, and every state does it different, but like New York, folks had to have property, you know, at inception and pay rent through halts, slowdowns.
Yeah.
Multiple.
And your mortgage.
Yeah.
Or your apartment.
Yeah. And that's crazy. There aren't enough things out there that help licensees. You know, and I think that's what drew us to Canna Connect back in those early days, because Canna Connect came to us as a platform to be able to, for anyone to add whatever they could to help the licensee in whatever capacity they had expertise in. That's how we view Canna Connect. And that's why I think it works. You know, conferences come and conferences go. Conferences bring, you know, trade show and booths and after parties and good times.
And you've seen those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but we need some consistency, because when the conference is gone, who's still there, right?
Right.
And
road shows come and go.
Yeah,
I hear you.
You know, and licensees aren't sleeping, right? They're thinking of when is their inspection coming? What do I have to order this special window? And, you know, I need to get my security, all this stuff.
There's a keypad on the front of my door.
Yeah, you know, product. I need to get deals, so I have product. And like I said, they're not sleeping.
Yeah.
So, you know, they need somewhere to go, or someone to email at 2 a.m., you know, and have a response back, you know. And that's the community that, you know, you've helped create, which is important. Every market needs that, you know. And right now, I don't have a license. I'm an ancillary person that, you know, helps licensees. But right now, licensees aren't competitors to each other in Minnesota. Right now, licensees are peers to each other, and they need to lean on each other for help and advice and, you know, tips and OCM checklist stuff. And
the season hasn't started yet.
Yeah, you know, like, let's help everyone grow.
Right. 1,800 micro business applications or micro businesses, and it's like there's 45 approved, stamped.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't even do that percentage. Like 180 would be 10% if that number is right. And like that's where I miss Tanner, because like he'd be like, no, Steve, there's 1,462 licenses. It's like, you're right. I know 45 and maybe it'll be 50, and Nuggets Star Tribune newsletter puts out updates on that every week. Shout out to the whole team there, Matt DeLong, Emmy Martin. I was reading an article recently, and it came up yesterday at our Canna Connect event. It's like, I'm having trouble finding space.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble finding a retail location or any building, really. Building, right? We talked about facilities. So an article comes out, and it's Brian Bartley's the focus of it. Green Lane Express. He's a listener of the show and like has been to our events. And 57, looking to do a drive-through. He's going to be in Brooklyn Center. He wanted to be in Brooklyn Park. Brooklyn Park wouldn't let him. He's in Brooklyn Center. Green Lane Express. But the focus was how there's a green tax, and how as soon as they hear about marijuana or cannabis in their building, they don't want it. They don't like the smell. They don't want it. They're going to charge more, or they're not going to call you back. It's like, so there was a commercial real estate agent quoted in the article. I reached out to her this morning and was like, hey, we're missing this inside of Canna Connect. Can we set up a meeting? Because to your point, like it's a soup, and soups have a lot of ingredients, and like we're still figuring out like the right flavor. And it changes. It doesn't have to be the same flavor every month. But like I think the real estate component at this point right now is
crucial.
Yeah, it's crucial. It's lacking. And we have this homogenous cannabis culture, like the ability to have this, like due to the location of the reservations for the tribes, whether it's the highest point north or Albert Lea, Minnesota, which is not tribal, but it has been in the news. So it's like top to bottom, Thief River Falls to Albert Lea, there's going to be cannabis in Minnesota. So real estate, and then also like left to right, counterclockwise, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin. Don't count Illinois, but Wisconsin. All states that don't have an AU or legalization or faintly even a medical program. South Dakota has medical, Iowa has medical, but there's only a few stores. So when I hear folks say, yeah, we want to be a border town, it's like, okay, yeah, like I've heard that 6 times, like but like also like just being in Minnesota, I think, and having a strong business plan and having the backing. Now the funding aspect still needs to be figured out, and I know SodaCan and folks are working towards social equity initiatives. You know, talking to Ron yesterday, who called me from New York, he's like, yeah, I see it as like a virgin market. Like there aren't that many MSOs. The tribes haven't really like taken a stronghold off reservation. And then there's a ton of businesses like we're talking about that haven't even opened yet. And that's what you're talking about when you're like, this is history. Because you only get to found your business or establish your business once.
And this round of licensees and everyone, and everyone's part of that first moment.
First moment. Whether it was August 1st, there continues to be new firsts. Like Legacy Cup this year was another level. Adult use recreational cannabis was sold on premise legally. I think the 2026, or as we look ahead to like December, Jake was talking about getting Metric out to an event. Like they just did a webinar recently, and it was kind of a shit show. It was kind of a mess. It's like people want to ask questions. So open invitation to the OCM if they want to come to our December event. We'd love to schedule something. How do we make that room full? OCM, Metric. You have fire chats, you have open forums, people ask questions, just go. I mean, that's what we can make it ticketed. It doesn't have to be a free-for-all, but like you wonder where the questions are at. It's like, how do I get started? Why can't I practice Metric before I'm licensed? I want to be licensed. I can't get licensed yet. I'm waiting on my building to be built out. I'm waiting to be fully inspected. Those are things that nobody can work around. There's another side to this that Canna Connect needs, and it's what's happening in St. Paul, right? Everything can happen across Minnesota, but like what happens in St. Paul at the Capitol really affects everyone. And so that's where we need to get more connected, right?
100%, you know, and, you know, up until recently, the last few events, you know, we've collectively stayed away from just like all the politics and, you know, all those nuances and craziness as far as it relates to licensees. And we've just been offering what we can control.
Right.
Right. It's like, this is the type of security you're going to need. You know, this is the type of training, the number of staff, hardware, you know, all the stuff to get through the checklist and be compliant, which is good. That's important stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But to bring in the other component, I think we would make everyone's lives so much easier.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, and we've talked about this, why do we do this? Why do we do this? It's because we care about the licensee, right? You know, everything we do and everything we decide, we always ask, what is that going to do for the licensee? How is this going to help the licensee? If we answer that question, that yes, we're helping, cool, let's do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think about the innovation. I think about the groundbreaking, the plant medicine aspect of it, the natural homeopathic grow your own solution, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I care about the individuals, but because I'm running the show,
Yeah.
it's hard to, with larger events, it's hard to pay attention to each individual. Yesterday was a great example of like every time I looked up, somebody was talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think we build on yesterday. We understand where the real questions are at. And you can offer as much guidance on security and cameras and installation, but like it's not going to fill a room.
No. Yeah. You need all the components or a lot of them. And, you know, each event, you know, needs to cater to that. There was a woman from the last event who was very concerned about understanding 280E, you know, and we, you know, outside the event in the networking part, everybody was able to give her some direction and someone to talk to and, you know, and guide her. But, you know, it's like, that's the other thing too. Everyone in the room is at a different stage, right?
Yeah.
So being able to also speak to the individual and make sure that the individual leaves feeling like they got what they need. I think it's also been a goal, and we've done a pretty good job of that.
You've brought great people to the table. Cannabis has been popular in Minnesota. It has a culture here, probably more so than Iowa, for example, maybe more than Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin wins on beer, and we're catching up there. But the exciting part, because, you know, Lucas or Jen Riza, they might say like, well, it's actually really good. It's really good program, right? There's a lot of opportunity, but like, I think I'm tapping more into the culture side of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've told me before that Minnesota seems to be a more educated market. There's more money here than in other states that are turning on their cannabis programs, their adult use programs. What can you point out from what I've said so far as like what makes Minnesota so exciting? So
going back to a gentleman that came to Canna Connect event, Ron, who said it's like a virgin state. So yes and no, like it is virgin because this is new. This is the first time we have legal, you know, adult use like cannabis that's going to be sold to consumers. So that is exciting, but couple that with an educated state with a culture for the plant that is already pre-existing, with people with an entrepreneurial mindset or a community mindset or a vision to like be able to sell this plant that's part of their culture to the public through their own, you know, umbrella. So that type of drive and want and being savvy of some sort of business mindset, bringing that to a license, that's where it's exciting. And then to add on top of that, it is almost a blank slate. You haven't had a chance to screw it up, right? And a lot of markets have.
And to give credit to the OCM, they cut Delta 8 as quickly as they could within 2 years. They clamped down on THCA flower in a pretty short amount of time. And so that's what Ron from Elion was saying is like, there aren't a lot of spots that I can just walk into and find bud
Yeah.
at a store,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not the same in New York.
Oh, 100%. You know, and in New York, what was tough, it's like, okay, that's clearly, you know, this brand's packaging, but am I buying that brand? What's inside? Like, you know, and asking yourself, cool, like, you know, New York is so fast paced, right? So I found myself inside of a dispensary and then saying, did I check my ID or not? Am I in an illicit shop or not? Like, and be like, oh, that's a weird thing to, you know, go through your head, because
Wow.
you're just like walking and you see a shop and it's inviting and you go in, you know?
I think that's the first time you've ever said illicit to me.
Yeah.
And we've been talking regularly all summer.
Yeah.
And so like, maybe that's what we can end on from like a high, is like, there isn't, not to say there aren't being drugs moved in this state across the border, but from the industry standpoint, the folks that were doing it blatantly have been checked.
Yeah.
And that's on Reddit, that's by the OCM, that's undisclosed fines that have gone out. And it's like that from a safety standpoint,
Yeah.
because that is important across the board. Like, it is important to keep a mildly psychoactive product out of the hands of kids.
Yeah.
And by making sure that we don't have overwhelming access to Delta 8 or access to THCA flower, which really just ruins the game.
Yeah.
This is different. But THCA flower, I can understand why we don't want it. And so I'm super excited for the future.
Yeah.
I appreciate you showing up every month,
Yeah.
being a part of it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad we could sit down on the Canna Connect show. Munir Haque, everybody.
Thank you.